Me to cover the Peppa Pig outbreak for a while. And since I can already hear you typing in the comments, yes, the little pink piglet has an infection AU. And it's actually pretty sad and surprisingly violent. Now, just like with most of the infection AUs that we've covered, this one starts off with Peppa's parents watching TV, and then we see an announcement pop up basically saying that there is a violent outbreak going on and people should all stay inside. They advise people to not answer the door for anyone because they could be infected. And we remember how that turned out for Bandit in the Bluey infection AU. So in order to keep the kids safe, the parents send Peppa and George to bed and also call up Granny Pig to make sure that they're okay as well. And in the next scene, we get a quick glimpse into the symptoms of the virus. And we see that it makes your pupils really small, you start to behave like a crazy person, you can't stop smiling, and are very, very violent. After that, we see Granny Pig meet up with Peppa's parents, and they decide to call the grandpa to make sure that they can all actually be together and stay safe. But based on this scene right here, it's safe to assume that the grandpa is already infected. Next, we get to take a look at everyone's stat sheets, and we see that Peppa is fine but confused, which kind of makes sense considering that no one has really told her what's happening as of right now. George seems to be chilling, Mama Pig is scared, Daddy Pig is hungry, which I thought was kind of weird considering like the situation. We see that the grandma is worried, and lastly, we get confirmation that the grandpa pig is the only character to be infected as of right now, sitting at stage 1 and also being delirious. Now after that, we see both Peppa and George are in bed, and they're afraid because they don't know what's going on. So they decide to start playing with some of their toys in order to calm their emotions. But this is when we see Grandpa Pig come to the window, and since the children don't know about the infection, and from their perspective, they just see their smiling grandfather, so when he asks to be let in, they open the window for him. And while he looks pretty normal when he's outside, as soon as he comes through the window, it becomes obvious that he's all wrong. His head is way too big, and his limbs are elongated and jet black. And it's at this point that Peppa finally understands that something is wrong with her grandpa, and that they need to run. But she stops to grab Mr. Dinosaur first, which obviously was a mistake because when she goes for this little toy, her grandfather opens his mouth and seems to maul her. After that, we get the stat sheets again, and we can see that Grandpa is now at stage 2 and he is ravenous, which just means that he's super hungry. And Peppa has these question marks, meaning that she may still be alive, but I don't think there's any way that she's not going to be infected. Next, we see that George is able to make it down to his parents and tell them that there's a monster in his room, which causes the Daddy Pig to grab a pistol and go upstairs. And while the image is blurred, it seems like Grandpa is still holding on to Peppa, and seeing this, Daddy Pig takes a shot at him. And when he gets back downstairs, it's implied that he took out Grandpa, and now they need to leave and get someplace more secure. Sadly, the grandma is not willing to leave, stating that she can't go on without her husband, which is kind of sweet, but she still has like a living daughter and grandchild, so it seems like she has a lot to live for. I don't know if I would have stayed behind, but you know, for each his own. And since they're not able to convince her otherwise, they're forced to just leave her behind. And from this scene right here, it seems like there's still a living infected in the house, which I can only assume is Peppa because we know that Daddy Pig shot Grandfather. Next in the scene, we see that Peppa's family goes to the school, and surprisingly they find a bunch of survivors, mostly children, and they all seem to be being taken care of by Madame Gazelle. And since the school has a bunch of supplies, they allow Peppa's family to stay with them. But that night, while everyone is sleeping, we see that Peppa appears at one of the windows, and she's able to smash it open without waking anyone, which is crazy to me. I wake up by almost any sound in my house, so I don't know how all these people manage to stay asleep. And unfortunately, by the time someone is able to actually warn the crew, Peppa is already well inside and trying to attack people, her first victim actually being Madame Gazelle. And by the looks of it, she seems to have been eaten whole, so I guess the good news is that she won't be coming back as an infected. Now, luckily for the people there, the police were able to arrive and take Peppa down before she could claim any more victims, or so I thought. But right after that scene, we see that this child here says that Peppa touched Miss Mouse before she shot her. And later that night, when everyone was sleeping, Miss Mouse asked the kid to meet her outside. And she basically confronts the little girl about revealing that she was touched by Peppa. And since she's now infected, she doesn't want to get kicked out of the group, so she pulls out a knife and she takes the kid out. And I was actually surprised by this because I was not expecting a Peppa Pig AU to be this brutal. And we see that when Mommy Pig wakes up and goes to the bathroom, Miss Mouse is at least at stage 2 and she's holding the severed head of Susie. And what I find even crazier is that Peppa's family doesn't even try to save any of the other children in the school. They just bail out, hop in their car, and just hightail.
I'm Dr. Mark Downey, and I'll keep our community healthy and safe.
When you pay rent with Bilt, you're in valuable points every month to redeem toward flights with world-class airlines, stays across all nations.
Out of there, which is a whole nother level of cruelty.
Fuck them kids.
After that despicable scene, the family finds a military base and are welcome to stay as long as they get tested. And of course, since none of them have actually been touched or bitten, they all come back clean. And with all that out of the way, the family is given a room where they can rest up, and for a moment it looks like everything is going to be okay for them. But then Daddy Pig hears some screaming from outside, and when he looks out of the window, he sees that a bunch of infected have made their way onto the military base. And seeing this, Daddy Pig sends his wife to go find guns and ammo while he stays to protect George, which is some Scooby-Doo behavior. If I was in that situation, there's no way I'm splitting up with my kid or my wife. We all stand together. If one person gotta pee, we all gotta pee. Nobody splitting up. And we see why I was right almost immediately. When Mommy Pig goes down to this little ammo room, she's attacked by the nurse almost off rip. And for some reason, this dude right here in the back was just hiding and allowing her to get hurt. We'll figure out why later, but this dude is a scumbag. Now, after the attack, we see that Daddy Pig comes down and sees that his wife has been attacked. But more importantly, he finds this person who is claiming to be a general that has the cure for the infection. And while we already know that this guy is bad news because we watched him watch Mommy Pig get attacked and do nothing, but the dad doesn't have that information. So he agrees to take him with him, and with that, the three of them actually set off to get the general's cure. But before they get to their final destination, they make a pit stop at this hospital to grab some supplies. And as to be expected, while in there, they find a bunch of infected. But this actually makes a lot of sense considering that when people get sick, of course they're gonna go to a hospital. So a lot of these people in the hospital are probably just people who were brought here before they realized like this outbreak was a zombie-like outbreak. Now, seeing that they were quickly being overrun, they needed to make a quick escape. So they saw this vent in the ground and decided to hop in there because, you know, the other option was getting eaten. And they end up coming out in another part of the hospital that is full of beds, and one of the beds is occupied with Granny Pig. We then learn that after they left her at the house, Granny was attacked by Peppa, but it turned out that she might actually be immune, which is why she didn't turn. And while she did manage to escape Peppa, she ended up running into a scientist, and when he sees that she may be immune, he basically takes her hostage and uses her as like a test subject here in the hospital. And all this time, she's basically been having tests run on her against her will. But now that Daddy Pig is there, he's able to help her escape, and they continue on their journey with the general to find the cure, eventually getting to this not so crazy plot twist. When they arrive at this house, we learn that the general had the cure with him the whole time and he was saving it for his own wife. The last thing that the general reveals is that he's the reason that Mommy Pig ended up getting infected because he basically set her up knowing that Daddy Pig would be forced to help him then. And when George hears this information, he goes berserk and he takes out the general, which really I can't blame him for. I was just surprised that he was able to do it considering that he's so young. And after all that, we see Daddy Pig go to pick up the cure, but when he reaches out for it, the general's wife scratches him on the hand, leaving him with a hard decision. He has to decide if he will use the cure on himself or use it to save his wife. Put down in the comments what you would do if you were in this situation. Would you sacrifice yourself to save your partner, or would you take it for yourself and try to find a new cure? Now, as of right now, this seems to be the final episode in this series. It seems like the creator is no longer on TikTok, so I assume they just shut down the whole project. But all in all, this actually was a lot better than I expected it to be. And I know that a lot of you have been asking me to cover that How to Train Your Dragon one as well, so I'll be trying to get to that